comments? All right. Dyson, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, thank you. Any changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, public comments. Okay.
People who were waiting should mute their phones.
Yes, everyone on the line, if you would mute your phones, please.
Good afternoon, Ron Hartman for the record. With regards to this morning's meeting, and it's being carried over to this one on the KC North inspections and the possible signing of a contract. On the inspections, on the air quality, I think it only included mold. I don't think it included radon. I think you need to include radon in that inspection. You still don't have the report on the PCBs. You don't have any idea what it's going to cost to replace the HVAC system, and it said that a lot of it was recommended to be replaced. The roof has 4 areas in poor condition that were said to need repair, needs replacement. There's no quotes on that either. Nobody's going to remember if you're late, but everybody's going to remember when you run over the budget. You have no idea what it's going to cost yet, and yet you got a contractor trying to push you into signing a contract today. I think it's irresponsible to do this until you know the total cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Other public comment? All right. I would take a motion for meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes, items 1 through 5.
Second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, and consent calendar?
I move that we approve the consent calendars items 6 through 10.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 11, payables.
I move that we approve payables March 4th through 8, 2024 in the amount of $2,004,880.07 and no jury panel payments.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 12, this is a bid award, and the bid number is 20SSCF-02-03, and it's with North Idaho Landscapes and Forestry LLC for the Post Falls Community Forest Project, Unit 3, and then 17.5 acres hand treatment for any amount of $26,250. Ms. Littlefield, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am. This is Andrea Littlefield for the record. Kootenai County Office of Emergency Management respectfully requests that the Board of County Commissioners approve the bid award for the Post Falls Community Forest Unit 3 hand treatment. We had 4 responsive bidders respond to our notice inviting bids, with North Idaho Landscape and Forestry garnering the lowest bid.
Okay, and questions, motion?
I move that we accept bid 20 SSCF-02-03 or North Idaho Landscaping and Forestry LLC, Post Falls Community Forest Unit 3, 17.5 acres hand treatment for $26,250.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 13, facility use agreement, first responder training at the Coeur Casino with our Office of Emergency Management. And Ms. Long, are you on the phone, or Ms. Littlefield again?
Nope, it's Sarah here for the record, Sarah Long. I'm presenting a letter of agreement with the Coeur Casino to rent banquet rooms for first responder training that will take place May 1st through 3rd. The total price for the space rental, as well as the AV, snacks, and beverage, is $3,150, and we will be utilizing FHSP funds for this cost. And with that, I am asking for approval of this agreement.
All right, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the facility use agreement for first responder training with the Coeur d'Alene Casino and the Office of Emergency Management.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right. Item 14, grant application FY25 WSFM Hauser Lake Community FireSmart with our Idaho Department of Lands in the amount of $240,000. In-kind match is from Administrative Time and Community Outreach Efforts, $24,000, and our Office of Emergency Management, Ms. Littlefield.
Yes, this is Andrea Littlefield for the record. Kootenai County Office of Emergency Management respectfully requests that the Board of County Commissioners approve the application for the 25 WSFM Hauser Lake Community FireSmart Grant. This grant is for hazardous fuel reduction work to make a 100-acre fuel break along the travel corridors and adjacent to densely populated neighborhoods in the Hauser Lake area. This grant is for $240,000 with a $24,000 match that will be met with administrative time and community outreach efforts. And it is OEM's recommendation that you approve this grant application.
All right, questions, motion?
I move that we approve grant application FY25 WSFM Hauser Lake Community FireSmart, Idaho Department of Lands, in the amount of $240,000 with in-kind administrative match of time and community outreach efforts totaling $24,000.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Item 15, this is the bid award for the KCSO Kootenai North Remodel Project in our Sheriff's Office. Lieutenant Klinkofus.
Yes, ma'am. Lieutenant Klinkofus for the record. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yes, ma'am. We're asking for to award the contract for this project to Stancraft. They were the lowest bidder, and we are comfortable with their bid as stated.
Okay, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the bid award with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office North Remodel Project.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Right. Item 16 is the contract for the KCSO Kootenai North Remodel Project with the Wood Boat Builders DBA Stancraft and our Sheriff's Organization.
Yes, ma'am. Lieutenant Klinkofus again for the record. We're asking for the contract. It's a two-part contract. One for $428,000 for the remodel of the detectives area, and then the second portion of that is $110,000 for the evidence remodel to complete the electrical and HVAC. So we're asking for approval of that contract to continue with this project.
Okay. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve KCSO North Remodel Project with Wood Boat Builders DBA Stancraft.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Item 17, board approval request. This is a grant of easement, and our community development department is handling this one. Good, Ben Tarbutton, thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ben Tarbutton with Community Development. The request here is a grant of easement for private property owner Ramon and Annie Morgan. They are off of Caravel Road out near Farragut State Park. The existing residence residential use has been in place for about 40 years now, yet the county owns about a 100-foot strip of abandoned right-of-way, formerly owned by National Park Service. They've conveyed it to the county approximately 12 or 13 years ago. But come to find out, of course, that no actual easement exists for the residents. So the owners have requested easement for that. The Review has been completed by Attorney Pat Braden, as well as Nick Snyder from the Parks and Waterways Department, as well as approval from the National Park Service, and that's kind of what's before you.
All right, questions? Motion? Bill? Is that
Bill, you want me to do this?
Yeah,
I move that we approve the request for the grant of easement with community development.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Dave, anything else in the motion, or is that okay? Okay, thank you. All right, item 18, County Department Annual Report, North Idaho Fair, change to enterprise fund of the county fiscal period ending September 30th, 2024, and our Auditor's Department. Ms. Falcon, please.
Brandy Falcon for the record. This is actually meant to just be a discussion item. I was told to put it on here because we knew that this morning's agenda was going to go long. So, as you know, we are changing the way that we report the county fair in the county's financials. So, the fair has always reported themselves as an enterprise fund in their financials, and they want to continue to do so. And we want to make sure that we're reporting them the same way in our financials. So we're going to be reporting the fair as an enterprise fund in the county's financials, so that will be something new that you will see in FY25. As an enterprise fund, you're used to having solid waste as our only enterprise fund, and they are not tax supported, they are supported by their user fees. However, the fair, even though they're going to be an enterprise fund, they still have the statutory authority to levy, even though historically the amount we've levied for them is very, very small compared to their total fair revenues. So I just wanted to make that clear that even though they're going to be an enterprise fund, if the board wishes to levy for them in the future, you still have the ability to do so. So it's kind of a discussion, just giving you a heads up that in FY25 we'll be having 2 enterprise funds from now on, and I just wanted, if any of you had any objections or changes you wanted to make, I'm just letting you know.
Any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Oh, just one point of clarification. That'll be for fiscal year 2024's financials. So,
Okay, so.
They'll just be reported as a component unit in 24 still,
yes.
as an enterprise fund component unit.
No, it's fiscal year.
You gotta turn your microphone back on. Sorry, people at home can't hear you.
In fiscal year 2024's financials, so not the one we've, so for September 30th of 2024, they will
Yes.
be reported as an enterprise fund.
Okay.
So,
And there's nothing to say that an enterprise fund can or cannot have levy authority?
Not from what we can see in the guidance, in the accounting guidance, no.
Great. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, item 19, board approval request, appropriate restricted court facility fund balance in Fund 11 for justice building expansion in our auditor's office. Ms. Falcon.
Yes, Brandy Falcon, again, for the record. So on February 27th, the board gave direction that you wanted to use $1,047,982 of the restricted court facility fund balance in Fund 11 towards the Justice Project. So this is just me requesting the formal approval for me to appropriate that fund balance and put it into the budget for the Justice Building.
Okay, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the request to appropriate restricted trial court administrator's fund balance in Fund 45 for the Justice Building expansion.
And actually on the item before that, number 19.
You skipped
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
I withdraw that motion. I move that we approve the request to appropriate the restricted court facility fund balance in Fund 11 for the Justice Building expansion.
$1,047,982. I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 20, board approval request, appropriate restricted trial court administrator fund balance in Fund 45 for justice building expansion. Ms. Falcon.
Brandy Falcon for the record. Same thing as the previous agenda item. On February 27th, the board directed to use $823,000 of the trial court administrator's restricted fund balance in Fund 45 for the Justice Building expansion. So this is just me requesting formal approval to appropriate that fund balance and place it into the budget for the Justice Building.
Okay, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the request to appropriate $823,000 of restricted trial court administrator's fund balance in Fund 45 for the Justice Building expansion.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 21, agreement, and this is for the design of admin building HVAC upgrade with Coffman Engineers. And it says auditor action, but is it? Oh, okay. All right. Caitlin, are you on the line?
I am. Caitlin Smith for the record. And this is the agreement between Kootenai County and Coffman Engineers for the latter to provide architecture, engineering, and construction support services for the replacement of the admin building HVAC system. Per this agreement, the lump sum fee for these services shall be $279,573.40. And as the board has determined, this shall not be carried out as an ARPA project. It is proposed to be paid out of assigned fund balance.
All right. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve the agreement for design of admin building HVAC upgrade with Coffman Engineers and the Auditor's Office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, thank you. Item 22, board approval request. This is PMR repairs, with Iron Mountain Construction in the amount of $33,200 in our Building and Grounds Department. Mr. Manley.
Greg Manley for the record. This is just approval for construction on the PMR site, 920 Ironwood. We have to remove some walls, install some doors, remove a bathroom. So just trying to get funding for that.
Okay, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the request for the PMR repairs with Iron Mountain Construction in the amount of $33,200 with Building and Grounds.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Work on this.
Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 23, board approval request. This is an estimate of $24,353.57 for flooring for the PMR location with Great Floors and again, Building and Grounds.
Greg Manley for the record again. This is just an estimate. I have another estimate coming in. I think we're going to be well under this because we're going to do a lot of the tearing it out ourselves. And so I think we'll be right around 20 grand, somewhere in there.
So you just want to not to exceed 24,000?
Yeah, not to exceed that.
Okay.
At 2450 or 350, 357. I know we're going to come in well under that.
All right, questions, motion?
Is this a time and materials?
This would be materials, but the estimate is broken down to where it's materials and installation, where we're going to do all the removal of the old stuff. So we're probably going to save at least $3,000 doing it that
Yeah,
way.
okay. All right.
All right, motion?
I move that we approve the request for PMR repairs.
Next one down.
Pardon?
Next one down, 23.
20, I'm sorry. I move that we approve the request for PMR estimate $24,353.57 for flooring and Great Floors.
If it's okay, I'd like to just amend that not to exceed 24,000 because that's what we talked about with,
All you want.
yeah. So I second that.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 24, this modification, it's amendment number 4 to master agreement with XTR Consulting and our assessor. This is kind of a continuation of the, little bit of the information we were given this morning. So I do have some questions. Do either one of you have any more questions on this?
The only thing that I would like to see is just some sort of a quarterly completed task list from XTR. Just what have they gotten done? Have they, what are they finishing so that we can see we're really moving, in the right direction? And they could probably just, they're going to keep track of it anyhow in their billing. So it would just be, we fixed this, we discovered that, we fixed that after we discovered it. Those kinds of things. And we could just have once a quarter, just update.
Concur. And we talked about this morning, we talked about how we're looking at resuming the steering committee, and that the steering committee would be a very good tool for doing that. Maybe the actual update is an outcropping of the steering committee, but that's how we'll stay on top of it. So yes, I agree.
And who is the person in charge of the contract, I guess?
So you're asking about the contract. So the contract with XTR, I assume, is what you're talking about. The contract with XTR is a master contract. It was modeled after the Manatron contract, and this is a discussion.
So let me make it simple. Is IT still going to be the one spearheading this project?
IT is named in the contract as project manager, and that's because it's very technical.
Sure.
That doesn't mean that there are not project management aspects that spill over into the assessor or into the treasurer or into the clerk. We all have to be very much involved, and it has to be a collaborative effort.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but with regard to the technical aspect, the IT department, they are essentially the project manager under the Manatron contract, and they are the systems administrator. And it's a best practices to have the IT department involved in that, certainly, so.
Then the only other thing was the funding, because there was some things not spent, and I think we can do away with the $250,000 phase 2. Is that correct?
Right, and as I tried to explain this morning, there is some spillover. And so some of the things that we originally anticipated in doing as part of the assessment in phase 2 are going to be addressed in this contract modification number 4. But what we are not asking for right now, we are not asking for the full system assessment, which was phase 2. We never awarded that under contract. I understood, and I discovered this morning, I didn't realize it, that money was allocated or appropriated to our budget. We never spent it, and we never implemented, because we never contractually obligated for phase 2. But under contract modification number 4, there are going to be bits and pieces that would have been covered under the total assessment. But it's more drilled down, it's more specific to the scope of work that is enumerated in the contract, in the modification number 4 document, which the commissioners do have in front of you.
Okay. So on phase 1, the unspent amount, is that going to be put towards this new amount?
Yes, so the unspent amount we have right now, sitting as we sit today, is about $13,000. I think it's like $13,082. It's a total of 74.78 hours at $175 per hour.
Okay.
So that's the remaining balance right now. All the other monies that were funded to us, and I had an error in my spreadsheet that I gave you this morning. I indicated the initial master contract was 300 hours. I was incorrect. It's actually 240 it started out as. And so the total funds that have been approved by the board under contracts is $220,000. That's what we have had obligated by contract. And of that is remaining about $13,000. And yes, we will direct that to modification 4.
All right.
Brandy Falcon for the record. So it's for the 13,000 remaining. If Bela or Dyson or Sam could send me a breakdown of that, because I agree to Sam's invoices so far, and I'm not coming back to that 13,000 remaining. So if someone could just send me a breakdown of how that's being calculated, that'd be super helpful.
Yeah, and I think with quarterly updates, I think that would be helpful for,
Yeah, just so we can make sure stuff's getting paid and, you know, that our system is matching the assessor's understanding of what's left in the contract.
Yeah, and it's simply 74.78 times 175. That's the calculation.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the invoices that have been paid from the assessor's budget, and I'm not seeing that 13,000 remaining based off what's been paid so far,
Okay.
so.
all right. So any other questions?
Just one out of curiosity, but it's 500,000. Do you expect to spend that by the end of the fiscal year, or it'll be ongoing?
So what XDR related to me is that once we get the go-ahead, once this is approved by the board, their plan is to get all of the programming done on their end by around June. That does not mean we're going to implement it then. What we will then need to do is look at testing in our fall timeframe, which generally can occur sometime in late July, but more likely in August, September, and October. And our intention is to get that complete. And so I anticipate that we would have it expended before the end of this calendar year.
And then I guess we're using fund balance for the entire amount? Or how's that?
Well, we had 250,000 set aside for the assessor's office in FY23, which was not used. Did we not assign another 250,000 this year?
For FY24,
For FY24?
you budgeted a total of 400,000, and that was delineated at the time as 150,000 for phase 1 and 250,000 for phase 2. So my records from our accounting system, based on the invoices that have been paid from the assessor's budget, show that we have $366,575 remaining for FY24. So would we just do the difference between the 560 and the 366 remaining as the fund balance needed? That'd be $193,000.
I would like that. What's your opinion on that?
What do you mean?
Well, just using the 366 that's in his current budget
Yes.
and then doing the rest from fund balance. How do you good with
From,
that?
You know,
and it would be from the assessor's fund 46 fund balance, correct? Not from general fund balance.
Well, he had mentioned, I didn't know if all this was a pro-val or a reval issue or
Well,
whatever.
as I mentioned this morning, this is an integrated system that's used by 3 departments. I don't feel that it should be exclusively and solely an assessor reval fund paid by the reval fund. It's critical, it's important, it needs to be done. I would not stand in the way if that's the make or break decision. But I really, in principle, I agree with what Bruce Matari said last year when he said that, you know, this fund cannot be depleted. It is the rainy day fund for reval purpose, and we should not be funding other things for that.
Okay.
So the conversation I had with Dyson, I thought it was gonna come from the Fund 46 revaluation fund balance. If you wanna use general fund balance, you do not have enough in your mid-year purchases line, so you're gonna have to use money from your master plan assigned fund balance to pay for this, if that's what you wanna do. Right now, the assessor has $903,000 in his fund balance.
So if we approve it all out of Fund 46 today, we can always go back later and make that whole and make those changes.
If you wanted to give general fund balance to the assessor's Fund 46, you could do that.
So then I think today I'm comfortable with going Fund 46, and then as we get our quarterly reports, we can readdress that.
I think that's fair. We can refund that account as needed. But
there was one item that I wanted to bring back up from this morning. You had mentioned, you know, what's the human cost? What does it take our office to handle, to function in the current system? And I have a perfect example from just last week. One of our business intelligence analysts had to work with the state to produce a PM070 report. That report readily runs off the TSB dashboard, but not for our configuration because of different value types in the system. It took about 30 hours for him to parse out what was different, why it was different, how we can get it to function. It ended up being almost 800 lines of code, SQL code, that he had to write for himself, and about $1,000 to make the report work. The TSB dashboard has hundreds of reports, dozens of checklists, and just to get that one to work was almost an entire week. And he's very skilled at SQL, and it still took him a lot of that time. A lot of the stuff we're going to address in the contract modification helps with those configuration problems and helps us get back to the point where our value types and the internal structures we have in Amentum and in our system match up to the state, and we can use the TSB dashboard and start to re-implement from there business processes that catch our edge cases, that have those reports, check for those as we can systematically work through the checklist. That's just not an option for us right now, because when we have one report that doesn't work, it's a week of downtime to make it work.
Thank you. Any other questions or motion?
With the exception of the quarterly completed task list, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the modification amendment number 4 to the master agreement with XTR Consulting and the assessor's office on condition that we get a quarterly completed task list that is provided by XTR and presented by the assessor's office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
No.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right. Item 25, Resolution 2024-35, and this is a surplus fleet vehicle with our assessor's office. And Mr. Ferris, are you?
Jason Ferris for the record, fleet manager for the assessor. We're just requesting to surplus a vehicle that the county shop has looked at, and due to the age and the repair needed, it's not cost effective to repair it. So we're just requesting that the funds be placed back into the assessor funds so we can put it toward a replacement vehicle.
Okay. And would this also be the reval account?
We don't have a vehicle lined up yet. We're just requesting that it be placed back in there. We may do a temporary, I may have to reach out to the county fleet manager to get a temporary vehicle, and then possibly work that into the next budget year to get a replacement vehicle.
Okay, but the replacement vehicle likely will be out of the reval fund?
Bayla, do you know? I don't know that for sure.
We don't have any other funds budgeted for a vehicle purchase, so if we had to, it would be out of that fund.
Okay, I just want to make sure we put it back in the correct fund. That's all. So, all right, questions? Motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 2024-35, surplus fleet vehicle with the assessor's office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye, and just for clarification, that the proceeds from the auction would go back into the assessor's reval account. Dave, did you want that part of the motion, or is that sufficient?
Clarification.
Okay, thank you. Item 26, Resolution 2024-36. This is the Joint Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee. This is amending Resolution 2021-73, and it's with our Prosecuting Attorney Civil Division, Mr. Pat Braden, please.
Pat Braden, Civil Deputy Prosecuting Attorney for the record. As Chair Duncan stated, this is a resolution amending a prior adopted resolution regarding the Joint Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee. And all it does is it expands the scope and the call of the committee to consider the proposed county impact fees, the Sheriff's Office, jail, and Parks and Waterways. So this officially does this, and it also, because that committee has already considered, made a recommendation on those fees, it also ratifies those prior actions. So it's pretty straightforward. So unless any of the board members have any questions, I just ask that you adopt the resolution.
Okay, questions? All right, motion?
I would gladly make to collect impact fees that the board approve Resolution 2024-36, Joint Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee amending Resolution 2021-73 with the Prosecuting Attorney and Civil Division.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right.
Thank you,
With that,
Commissioners.
thank you. That I'll call for public comment. All right. 2:35, meeting adjourned, and I will